Boho, yeah. Gang, gang, yeah. My bitch bag, yeah. Rose gold got my bands up, yes, yes. White sand in my sandals, yeah, yeah. Ball hard, I got handles. Gang, gang, no bandanas. My bitch bag and no manners. Whoa.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Nights at the Roundtable. You got myself. You guys know who I am. We got, of course, Francis Lee. We got Killer Joe in the background. We got a special guest today, Ozzie Guillen Jr. Ozzie, how are you doing?
What's happening, guys? How's it going?
Francis?
Doing good, bro. Doing good.
Joe, you around? You know, Joe's always in the background ready to come out there and kill somebody.
Francis is not doing good. He's lying. He's not doing good. You're a Yankees fan. You're up 4-0. Herman's throwing the game of his life, and you lose 5-4 to the Red Sox. You're not doing good.
Ozzie coming in for the kills immediately.
I'm just saying, though, you're not doing good. You're not.
No,
I mean,
we not Ozzie.
I mean, if we start in there, Ozzie, you 100% right. I'm not.
Yeah, you're not. I think that's part of the problem, though. I really think that's part of the problem. People saying that they're okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're not. We're not. We don't say that.
No,
we don't
we're
say
not.
that
We're
here.
not.
No, we definitely don't say that here. No, we look, man, look. Me and Francis here, look, so we do the podcast also, Designated Spitters, and no, one of the, what was it, Francis, the first or second episode, we were like, this team needs some Ozzie, right? I'm not even joking. You can look it up. This is before we ever spoke. You can look this up. I mean, the first thing we said, we were like, this team needs some Ozzie. Like, there's nobody that has that personality. I was watching the game. I'm happy you brought the game up the other day. Alex Cora did something that Aaron Boone has never done. And I loved it. And I tweeted it out immediately. I said, guys, did you just see what a manager actually did? I forgot who it was that pinch hit. But he went up to him and he was screaming at him, hitting him on the head, saying, let's go, pumping him up. And I'm like,
Kevin Plawecki,
when he came with a pinch hit. And I said, man, I don't think Boone's capable of doing that. And it's funny you brought that game up because that's one of the first things I was like, man, it's nice to see a manager actually seem like he's somewhat invested in what happens in that game. And Boone has not shown that all year.
I think so. Boone is definitely capable of doing that.
Right.
I know that he is. Just being around him. They also have solid guys around them. I still believe that they're trying to fit an image that it's not who they are 100%. And if I had to sit down with Aaron Boone and I had to give him one advice is, Aaron, if you're ever going to get fired, my friend, do it your way.
Oh, that's good.
You know, if you're going to get fired, you're going to get, at the end of the day, everyone who becomes a Major League Baseball manager, there's only a few Joe Torres in the game, you know, Sparky Anderson, where you get to walk off the field and people celebrate you, or I call the Derek Jeter effect. People get fired. You're like, go. Someone doesn't pick up your contract, you're fired as a manager. So if you're going to do it your way, okay? And I think that because of the history that they have with the Joe Girardi, who also was a great manager for the team, and how the front office reacted to him, that they said, he's too tough, we need to get rid of him. I think that the coaching staff kind of has an underlining tone of, we can't take it that far. Because I think that, you know, they might be worried that they're, you know, this is their job, they're employed. And that need of desperation of, we need to win the next game. That's what you see with Alex Cora, because Alex Cora, believe it or not, this is like when you get a life sentence and you're told after a year that you get to have your life back. That's why he's so fired up. And every game to him now is like Game 7 of the World Series. I got an anecdote. So Ozzie was managing in 2005 or 6, okay? And his team took a 5-run lead, okay? It might have been a 4. And 5-run lead first inning, and the other team scored 3 runs, like right off the bat. And that's probably one of the most times I've ever seen him piss. And he just snapped. And this is like the second inning, and you're like, what's wrong with you? And after that, he just snapped, like, for real. He was like, you effing, you know, you got like, and when I asked him afterwards, it was because he was like, we've given up the lead back 4 times in the last like 2 weeks. I hadn't thought about that. Obviously he did because he was a manager. But he was like, every time we take the lead, we lay our guard down, and we can't do that. Like, we need to beat and put the pedal to the metal. And these guys are just too lackadaisical. Like, they're so good that they think that if the game's tied, they get to come back. Yeah. And that's not the point in baseball. This is not basketball where you can change the game in 1 quarter. 5-3 game, a home run, changes everything. So I feel like when I see both teams and I see the game, especially the last game, is there's no desperate, like they're not desperate enough to be like, they're playing like they're up 10 games in the division. Like there's no sense of like urgency of like, we need to win like today. Like we just beat Boston yesterday. We need to beat them today. Like Boone, like I'll be honest with you, Boone's managing like he's got like a 20-year contract, to be honest with you. Like he's not gonna get so I'm talking about like sense of urgency, and even the players like that. And that's funny because the guys that are kind of shining are guys that are like that 26th, 25th man roster spot, Rodor. He knows he's like one move away from being sent down or just being like the wrong position guy, and they have to bring up a pitcher or something, and he has to, he won't be on the roster. So I think that sense of urgency, it's not there for them right now.
Right, definitely. It's funny. I said that exactly what you just said. I tweeted the other day. I said the Yankee, this club, and the way Boone is managing them, it looks like he's up by 10 games. That's exactly what I wrote. Like he's acting like he's up with a huge lead. So no, we've been harping on that for a long time. The way it is, and it's funny that you say that because if you hear, Joe, we've heard this, Francis, we've heard this, is that Boone's a nice guy that can manage his club. And then you hear all the analytical department stuff, and Joel Sherman did that report of basically saying the analytics team is actually running everything that's happening. Whether it's moves made, whether it's lineups, it's all being managed that way. So unfortunately, I always say there's good and bad with analytics, right? There's the good side and the bad side of it. I just feel like it takes away that person-to-person connection a little bit, or the seeing eye test, or the gut feeling. If you handle it all by numbers, that's what happens. That part of the game leaves you. Francis, I know you agree with me on that. What are your thoughts on what Ozzie was saying?
It's crazy. It's crazy, like you said. Like we've been saying this for weeks, and so I love when we get like even just now the episode's out with us and Chef Junior, and we were saying the same things. And it's like I promise you, we haven't spoken to these guys before. But I mean, anybody with eyes, anybody with a little bit of baseball knowledge knows what they're looking at. And what you're looking at here is exactly what Ozzie just said. Cora manages like his team is in the position that the Yankees are. And Boone manages like his team is in the position that the Red Sox are.
But even better.
And that's and literally we're looking at this day in and day out. Aaron Boone, after games telling us that he liked some of what he saw. He liked some of the guys' approaches. He liked it. I mean, after games where it's like, how could you like anything? Like, look at a game like Sunday, right? Where Herman takes a no-hitter into like the 7th or something. Like, look at a game like that, right? And yes, there's a lot of good in terms of like Herman's performance, and the offense scored just, enough 4 runs. That should be enough to win you a game. But when you lose a game in the fashion in which the Yankees lost that game, as a manager, I think the tone in that press conference shouldn't be the tone that we get from Boone. But that's what we've come to know. Like, we know that we're going to watch a tough loss like that, and we're going to get you know what? It was a tough loss, but there was a lot of encouraging things that I saw here and there and here and there. And when you listen to a guy like Cora, if the Red Sox blow a game, right, his tone doesn't mirror Boone's tone at the end of a blown game. So to me, that's one of the biggest problems right now. It's at the top. Like I've been saying, and we've been saying all season, right? A fish rots from the head down, right? Yep. The problems with the Yankees. I'm sorry, I know Hal came out and tried to put it all on the players and all that other. Listen, the problems with the Yankees, if you ask me, it starts at the top. It starts with Cashman. It starts with Boone, even Hal to an extent. Like, and we're just seeing that play out on the field day in and day out. Another point that he made that I loved is that baseball is not basketball. I think I said that on a live either a live or one of our episodes. Yep. Baseball is not basketball. Baseball is not football. Baseball is not any of these sports. And you know why it's not any of these sports? Because you cannot run the clock out. You can't get a 4-run lead like the Yankees had the other night and just run the clock out and get that W. And, you can't do that. The Yankees play as if you could run the clock out. That's how we play. And that's why we've blown more games late in the game than any other team this year. Because the Yankees play a style of baseball that is like they expect to be able to just run timeout and just magically get outs and just win a game. It doesn't work like that. In baseball, you have to get all 27 outs if you want the W. That's just how it works. There's no time limit. You got to get all 27 unless you're blessed by a rain out or it's a doubleheader and you get the Manfred 7th inning rule, which is going to be moved anyway. right? But in a regular baseball game, you got to get all 27. You can't play to get a lead and just try to mail it in the rest of the way and just think, oh, it's all right. Like, Herman gave up a double here. All right, he's done. Let me bring in another guy because, I mean, obviously he doesn't have it anymore after he was just pitching no-hit innings. Like, yeah.
It's the same old. Joe, you got any thoughts on that?
I got some thoughts on it. I love what everyone's saying, and I definitely agree with Francis how baseball, it's not football, it's not basketball, it's not soccer. You can't compare baseball to these sports because of the time, and what I think it is with this team, it does start from the top. I don't know how much blame you could really put on Hal, because Hal's giving $210 million to Cashman. He's telling him, go do whatever you can do with this. So most of the blame for me would be on Cashman. We didn't know we would be getting what we're getting with Boone now to the extent of how he's running the team, because it's just pathetic that it's all run analytically. Because to me, I mean, I grew up bunting down the line, this and that with like small ball, and this team's just so much big ball, and they're relying on like too much calculations. I don't think you could play baseball fully to the extent of analytics.
Right. I mean, and we've also seen the Yankees actually, you know, that's why I was laughing when everybody said, well, they call up Estevan Florial, who, by all means, we all know this should be the starting center fielder, should have been the starting center fielder, and now he's getting a shot. And he adds athleticism. He adds those little things like that. We see Rougned Odor lay down a bunt. We see Gardner doing it, stealing bases from Gleyber Torres. And these are things that's all that small ball that actually everybody yelled at me. Well, Pete, that could never be done before. Yes, it can. It could have still been done. They've had guys that can do that. They're just starting to do that now. But in other news, before we continue on with that, the Yankees did make a trade today. So I know everybody in the comments section, you guys are talking about the deal. So let's look at a little something real quick. And then I definitely want to get Ozzie's thoughts on what the Yankees can do or what they should do. But Clay Holmes is a trade the Yankees make today, as you're seeing him on the screen here. Clay Holmes, when I first saw it, I'll be honest, it blew me away a little bit. I'm like, I don't really understand this one. But I have a good guy over there in Pittsburgh who gave me some good information about him. They give up Hoy Park. Let's be real, guys. Hoy Park was having a great year in AAA. The Yankees had no respect for the guy. Let's be real. No respect whatsoever for him. He wasn't going to get a shot at this level, unfortunately. And Diego Castillo, who is doing a really good job in AA for Somerset, batting .277, 11 homers. Park, .327, 10 homers in AAA. Holmes this year, .493 ERA, 42 innings pitched, 44 Ks. But, again, I guess we have to talk about the elephant in the room, right, which is the analytical side of things. And analytics says this guy has tremendous stuff. High 99-mile-an-hour sinker, dominates right-handed hitters, is controllable for years to come. Yankees obviously like that. That's one of the things they're looking for. So, Francis, I'll start with you on that one. Your initial thoughts, I probably think I know how you feel, but what are your overall thoughts on the trade from having some time to sit on it?
Yeah, I mean, you got those of you in the comments who saw my tweets, you know, my initial thoughts were just like, you know, what are we doing here? But I just want to put out there that it's not to take too many shots at Clay Holmes, because if I'm being honest, I don't know too much about Clay Holmes. I don't like to speak about players when I don't have an extensive knowledge on them. So, you know, the only thing I did know about him was that he is a strikeout guy, that for the innings that he's pitched, his strikeout numbers he's always getting like one an inning or somewhere between 1 and 2 strikeouts an inning. Like, so the strikeout stuff is there. I know, but I could have guessed that just when the Yankees made the deal for him, because we know that those are the kind of guys, those are the kind of arms that the Yankees like. So it's not a shot to him. I think I was just taken aback that after all the deals that we've seen thus far, and after like the Padres, you know, going and kind of shocking baseball yesterday and saying, yo, our lineup is good, but we're getting Adam Frazier. Like, we don't care. Like, it was just shocking to me that this was the move that Cashman, you know, came out of the woodwork with on a Monday. Like, hey, guys, I know y'all just saw Adam Frazier, but y'all wait till you see this. I got Clay Holmes for you. And it's like, bro, you called up Hoy Park. The man got one at-bat at the major league level. He got one at-bat. You made him ride the bench the rest of his time here. You sent him back down. He hits another home run in AAA. And then you sent him on his way. Like, his name shouldn't have been Hoy Park. We should have just been calling him Hoy Dangerfield, because he never got any respect from this organization. Like, no matter what Bro, lefty bat, infielder, like he just never got any respect. And I'm not saying that Hoyt Park is the next Tatis Jr. or some superstar shortstop. Please don't misinterpret. I know that he's not that kind of shortstop. He's not that kind of talent. But I do feel like he could have helped this team at different points throughout the season, and he should have gotten a fairer shake. So a little bit, sad just how that played out for him. But I hope he gets a shot in Pittsburgh. And same with Diego Castillo. I think they're getting a good player in Diego Castillo. So, good for them. And, hey, Clay Holmes, you wearing the pinstripes now. So, obviously, I ride or die for you, bro. I hope you strike out every batter that you face, and you're the greatest relief pitcher we ever saw.
Yeah, one of the things me and Joe were talking about before we went live here was that I guess it's good for Park, right? They move Frazier. Park's probably going to get that spot. I mean, there's potential that he's going to get that shot to go out there and play some second. So, Joe, what else? What are your thoughts also, too, on that move?
My initial thoughts, I was like, who the is this guy? I was like, are we getting another Wandy over here? I was pissed.
Have you seen Wandy? Remember Cashman? Have you seen Wandy? Yeah, we've seen enough of them. We've seen
like
too
I got
much
stabbed
of them.
again. Can't take it. But then breaking it down, looking at his numbers, they weren't too good. It was like a 4.9 ERA. But if you really break it down, you look deeper into his stats. He is an analytical pitcher. He does got some nasty stuff. And his numbers against righties, it's just insane. He's probably one of the best relief pitchers in baseball against righties.
You got those numbers again? I think you told me.
Off the top of my head, I remember
177?
No, 1.2. It was a 1.23 ERA and a 1.72 batting average against righties.
So he dominates righties. I mean, if you look at the video I saw, you saw that sinker there, that dominates. But Ozzie, let me get your thoughts overall on the Yankees this year when it comes to what can Brian Cashman do. When you look at this team, is there even an impactful type guy that can get them over?
Oh, absolutely. How serious and how close do they think that they are to winning a World Series? That's question number one. Okay. They got to look around and say, okay, how serious are we? Because they've had a weird, they don't know who the starting guys are. Miguel Andujar's hurt, so that makes it a little bit easier. So Urshela is going to play third. Okay. You got Gleyber at second. Okay. LeMahieu's going to be the second baseman. Voigt's hurt. So, when he returns, he is the first baseman. Obviously, they've decided that Gary is the catcher because they haven't made him into a full-time DH. And when you look at the outfield, they had the Aaron Hicks, is it Gardner? So they have a couple positions there, like where they don't have a solidified, like I can say, okay, this is the Yankees lineup every single day. They're trying to do the platooning, and that doesn't help. Okay. So when you're looking at how close you are, okay, they have a guy in the ninth inning who's a monster, Aroldis Chapman. But even when your monsters get pitched so much, they're going to get hit. Okay. Their bullpen hasn't been great. They need a number two guy there that was supposed to be Ottavino. And they traded him, okay, because he wasn't very good. And they moved him to the Red Sox, ironically. There's a trade out there. There's a trade out there because right now in baseball, man, we're suffering because there's so many podcasts, there's so many analytics, there's so many people talking about information. Prospects are like hot girls in high school. You don't know if she's going to be hot in 20 years. Sorry, you don't. Right. It's like the guy most likely to succeed in 12th grade does not mean that you're going to make it in life. It usually means you're probably not going to make it in life. You probably peak. Okay? So this prospect world now, everyone thinks that the prospects that you have on your team, like if you go on any Twitter page or any, blog, every fan base thinks that they have the best minor league system in the league. Okay? Right. And they're like, we're not going to trade him. It's like, well, where is he going to play? You know what I mean? I don't think that for 20 years the Yankees ever said this shortstop's in our minor league system because they didn't care. They knew Derek Jeter was going to be there for the next 100 years. And that's where they need to start doing that. They got guys in the minor leagues that might bring value. That might, if they trade them, they might bring something in return. So that's why right now they can't be that team in purgatory of, are you buying or selling? This new philosophy of like, oh, I win championships. How many times? I know the Yankees have 27 rings. I don't know who's won the last 10 years for minor league system of the year. You don't get awarded anything for minor league system of the year.
That's a good point.
So they're after rings. So Cashman, the hard part is Cashman has 4 of them. Okay. And I understand if you can be analytical, but when you're building your team, you're falling into these traps of you're not making moves. If this was 1999, okay, and Cashman thought that he had a chance to win a World Series, he'd trade for Chris Bryant and Ted Kimbrell. He'd trade for them. He'd say, who do we got to give up? Hicks. We got to give up our top 3 picks. We might have to give up Ursula. Who cares? Give him up. Or you can go Kimbrel, Wilson Contreras. Okay, because you need a catcher. Unless you're in the front office and you think that you're going to win with Gary Sanchez, you need to figure out if Gary's going to be the DH or if he's going to catch. So whatever move you make, and the reason I say Kimbrel is New York they got money. Okay, you spread out the contract and then you try to figure it out. And then the Bryant thing, you're only paying him for this year, and then you just let him go. You either try to extend him, because obviously I think New York, as much as people say he wants to go to the West Coast, pinstripes are pinstripes for managers, for players. You can hate the Yankees unless you're Ken Griffey Jr. They call and they say, hey, you want to manage the Yankees? You want to play for the Yankees? You're like, ooh, New York. If I make it in New York, I make it anywhere. So it becomes very, very sexy. You're in prime time. Your marketing team's talking to you. So Chris Bryant fits in because he fixes like 4 of your problems. He can play left. He can play right. He can play center. He can play third. He can play first. And then Kimbrel comes in and he's like, at this point in his career, he doesn't care about closing, to be honest. I don't think so. I think he wants to win. And if Chapman goes down at any point, he can be that gap guy. And then again, I think then you just let Aaron Boone manage and create that lineup, and mix it up. Because again, the lineup with analytics is always going to give you the same thing. That's the part that people don't realize. Because when you're doing analytics, you're not looking at bad swings. My guy Stanton had a swing the other night. Horrible. And he looked like he was killing a gnat.
Yeah.
Okay? And I've seen Giancarlo when he's going really, really well. And I've seen Giancarlo when he struggles. And when he can't get to that inside fastball and he's having even trouble with that outside pitch, which is his bread and butter, you're like, okay, maybe we move you from that spot. Let other guys that are hotter get better pitches because you're not going to get pitched to. I think when you run the lineup 100% analytical, the analytics doesn't tell you, hey, this guy's swing is looking a lot better. When you go 100% analytical, why do you have hitting coaches? Why do you have other coaches tell you, hey, man, this guy feels well? Or, hey, this guy didn't get any light sleep because his baby was up all night. Or, hey, this guy's wife wants to divorce him. There's just a lot of things that happen in the game of baseball. I made a bet the other day when Gerrit Cole faced I believe it was the Astros. And it was like crazy odds against the Yankees. And I said, Gerrit Cole's going to go out there and just show the world that he doesn't need sticky stuff. And let's be honest, Gerrit Cole is good without sticky stuff. If he used it, I just made him amazing. But I thought that just from being around clubhouses and just being around and what I've heard about Gerrit, I knew that he was going to go out there to prove that he was the guy. And that's the day that he told Aaron Boone, get off the mound. I got this game. I'm going with that gut instinct there because analytically they would have told me, oh no, he's struggling. His RPMs are down. And I'm like, there's stuff in that tank that he wants to prove not only to himself, to the Yankee fans, to everyone that he is still the guy and that he was worth the money. So those are things that I'm just a fan sitting at home. Your coaching staff should be doubling down on that, and that's where I think Aaron is very good because he's been around the game of baseball and he's played it of getting those guys through a slump, of getting those guys and backing them up, not just making it about the numbers because at the end of the day, the numbers are there, but that relationship, that human touch is going to be there. If not, just take away the coaching staff and put a computer, print the lineup out and say, here you go, guys. And we'll put an intercom and we'll tell you guys what the plays are.
Right.
And save yourself a couple mil. So I'm sure the Yankees coaches make pretty good money, But no, I think but if you think you're that close, if you think if you're not selling, okay, when I mean selling means you sell a couple key pieces to teams that might need it because you think that you're going to get returned something that you're going to win in 2 or 3 years. But if you think that you can win that wild card at 3.5 games or even, make a run at first place, you got to make a run for impactful players. That's just, and again, I knew back in the day, the Yankee way was we have core players, whatever key players we need to bring in the middle of the year, we're going to make the moves that we need to make.
Right.
We're going to bring Jim Lehrer. We're going to bring Cecil
David
Fielder.
Justice.
We're going to bring David Justice. We're going to bring, and again, I think that like the year that they traded Chapman, okay, that was a year that they didn't think they were going to win. They trade Chapman, they bring back Gleyber. That was a great move. That's probably one of the last great moves that they made. So if they think that they're like that this year, you move Chapman again.
Well, I actually got some news for you. I just got a text message saying the Yankees are actually working hard to get Trevor Story now.
Yeah,
they submitted an offer.
They did. So yeah, I got a text too, and then somebody told me I believe there's something from Heyman, but apparently they're looking to get a starter in that deal also.
and you get a starter and you get a deal. And again, you're bringing a big name guy, and then when you're bringing players, again, Max Scherzer becomes the most interesting arm, but you bring somebody else to kind of help you out. You bring that big name bat because you need a bat, especially when you're knowing that the team is so prone to injuries. Okay, that's just who they are, that type of players that they have. You bring the big bat, and then you bring an arm that helps you out, because people don't realize this. If an arm's not a starter, someone goes into the pen to help you relieve.
Right, that's right.
Okay,
like a Severino. We've been talking about
the shortened game. Yeah, you play the fifth starter, and this at the end of the day, Chicago's horrible for this. We have a paper ace, and if his family hears me, the fans are probably going to cry. I'll probably get canceled. Lucas Giolito. Okay, Lucas Giolito. Yeah. Worst pitcher 2018, has one good year. White Sox weren't good. He's like, oh, he's an ace. To me, the word ace is the most overrated word ever. Just because you get the ball on opening day as a number one starter does not make you an ace.
That's right. I agree.
Okay? Because if you're in a good pitching staff, you could be an ace and be the fourth starter.
I agree.
Okay? So for my opinion, when you're looking at like guys that have stuff, like ace stuff, you got to see who your best guys are. You can't just give somebody that title. So if you don't have that guy, you got to bring in bodies to kind of get you there, because you might have to win a game. And that's what Tampa's really good at, because Tampa doesn't do all that crazy stuff when they have their big boys going. They only do that crazy stuff of bringing guys in the first inning, the second inning, and third inning when they got, a bunch of randos going. They don't do that stuff when they got their big boys going. So I feel like the analytics part, like the Yankees are so prone to it, but they don't seem to be using it right. Like they don't use it like if you're gonna have a piggyback day on like two guys that, that again, I thought that guy was gonna be Germán just because he was coming back, and you didn't know that. Obviously, he pitched 7 complete innings, but you try to get those guys that are shorter term and say, let's get the best out of them. But they don't tend to do that, which is kind of ironic, because that's how you're supposed to manage with the analytical world. But I think a starting pitcher, okay, a solid starting pitcher, if your ERA is under 4, especially in Colorado, the guy's decent.
Well, the name I'm hearing is John Gray.
Fine.
He's way under a 4. I think he's at like 3.6.
Yeah, that means he's probably like a really 2. Good. That means exactly. He's probably a 2 outside of course. So again, if you're under 4, big league baseball now, if you're under 4, you're decent, okay? And if you bring it with this Yankee offense, okay, and you bring the bat, the problem is, man, when you're looking at the Yankee offense, and this team was not built around, we're going to be, the Indians. Sorry, now the Guardians.
The Guardians.
The Guardians, where their whole team is basically pitching, and that's a team that I follow really closely, but they don't hit. Like, I think they're going to get no hit at least once more before the season ends. But the Yankees are supposed to hit, and they're not hitting. So maybe with some new blood, Trevor Story can come in and hit. Again, when I'm thinking Story, I'm thinking Chris Bryant. Those guys can come in and be like the third hitter and tell Aaron Judge, with all due respect, Stanton, I know you guys look bigger than me and you guys are stronger, like you're stronger, look better in a uniform, but this is what we do. That's where I think that those guys, and I think that you fill that void for Luke Voigt, which I think is probably one of the biggest losses for them this season, because he usually hits in that spot and not Judge or Stanton.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen Story's projected outcomes, I think you could compare how he would hit in different stadiums. He'd actually
I never liked that.
2 times better in New York.
I never liked that idea of that. And I know it's true and it's accurate if you just follow the ball that he hit in that stadium, if it would have got out somewhere else. I've just never been a fan of that type of, that's my reason to go get that guy.
Yeah,
Which I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it for the Yankees.
I think he'll hit anywhere, but I'll
definitely,
tell you something.
definitely.
If he goes to Yankee, this is a part people don't get. If you go to Yankee Stadium, okay, and you're there in August, you just got traded. You put on the uniform, you see your number in pinstripes. You look up at the championship. First day in New York, they're gonna love you. They'll start chanting your name. They're gonna start going. You're going from Colorado. Sorry, Colorado. All due respect, you're not even comparing to Yankee Stadium on a Friday night. Everyone chanting your name. He might take BP and be like, "Oh my God, that right field porch looks like a freaking, little league field," and the guy might just get turned on. He might just blow up because he's there, and now you're putting him in a race, in a pennant race. Remember, this guy was in a pennant race just a couple years ago when he had those crazy years, and he kind of fell off because it's really hard playing when you're not playing for anything. You're just like going through the motions. You put this guy back in the mix of like production mix of, he knows that if Trevor Story goes over 4 today in Colorado, we don't know. If Trevor Story goes 1 for 4 with 3 Ks and a home run, I'll know exactly what happened because he's on the Yankees. Just because that's how we follow baseball and how good the team is. So I think that Trevor Story, Chris Bryant, I really hope that the Yankees make a move, okay, for a dude. Because I don't think that they're sellers, and they need a dude just to go in and say, hey, man, like, we're here for real. And if you trade a dude, and I call dudes guys that are, like, legit guys, and you're in the clubhouse, you're like, okay, they believe in us.
Yeah.
Like, they think we got this. If you don't make a trade for a big guy, you're like, do they really think that we got it? Unless it's like one of the big guys is coming off the DL, which I don't think that they are, you got to make those moves. And again, minor league systems, just go to the DR and sign everybody. Go to Venezuela. You can rebuild a minor league system in 2 days. It's no big deal. Just go sign up.
Just walk around. Hey, come on.
$4 million and say, hey, who wants to try out?
We got as much international money, international pool money as anybody because Cashman loves boarding that up.
People bring up the Tatis trade. That was the worst trade of all times. They didn't know.
But you couldn't know.
I hate that. What I'm saying.
I hate that argument.
You couldn't know. And you needed James Shields because you thought you were going on a run for it. And people are like, oh, this wasn't a guy that was in AAA, and this wasn't a guy that was like 30 home runs in the minor leagues and then you moved them. This is a guy who had never even played a day in the minor leagues. So you took a gamble. Obviously, great scouting from San Diego. I bet he got picked from a list. I hope that I'll be honest, I hope that they said this is the guy we want. I know of cases where they say, hey, pick a guy. Where do we have depth problem?
That's
shortstop. Right. Pick whatever shortstop they got available. So it's not like it could have been a stroke of genius. It could have just been like a fluke. But people freak out. It's like it happens. Like when you get somebody that young and you make a move for them, you don't know. You don't know if the guy's gonna pan out at that moment. So again, all those prospects that they have that are bodies, other teams might have scouting on them. If that's what it's gonna take, that's what it's gonna take because realistically, where are they gonna play in the big league level? Especially in New York, where a lot of rookies just don't get off the bat and just get off AAA and start in the big leagues. That's just not the Yankee way.
Right. So
I think,
France, I'm going to let you go. Just want to update everybody. I got another text message saying that, yes, this is 100% legit. They are very much trying to add Trevor Story. So you can go ahead and jump in on that one, Francis.
Yeah, no, I will say this, right? Story, okay. I like the prospect of getting Trevor Story, but I think I said this in the episode that just came out, and I think in our last chat. With Trevor Story, the only hang up for me is, hey, don't trade for him and not re-sign him. Like
100%, I agree.
If we're gonna invest like whatever capital that's gonna take, again, it shouldn't be anything too crazy because Story's still a rental right now, and he does say he wants to test free agency. So I understand him. He should. But I'm like, if we're going to trade for him, we're going to bring him here. It's like, okay, I don't think I'm going to get enough of seeing like what kind of player Trevor Story could be for the Yankees in half a season. Like, if we're going to bring him here, let's bring him here. Let's sign him. Let's keep him here. Let's see what he could really do. Like, it's like there's something about coming to New York. Like Ozzie was just saying that, like, for some people, it's something clicks on, something switches on in them, and they become different players. And you're putting them in a lineup where it's like there's protection, whereas where they are, like where Story is right now, like how many other bats are protecting Trevor Story in that lineup? Think about it, right? I was interested the other day when I saw that Frazier got sent to the Padres. Look at what Frazier was doing in Pittsburgh. Imagine now in that Padres lineup where he's protected by all these other hitters. It's like, it's interesting to see what guys like that can do. So in my head, it's like, yeah, I'm interested to see what Story can do here, but I hope that it's not like a one and done thing if that's going to be the move we make.
I don't think Cashman makes that deal if he doesn't have a feeling he could re-sign him.
Here's the thing, though, like, so if you're not with the one and done deal of the signing, the White Sox, for example, right now, they just extended Lance Lynn. Okay, potentially could be the Cy Young. I don't think Lance Lynn makes that move unless he really likes Chicago. Okay? Yeah. So you take the risk of having Trevor Story. Maybe Trevor Story said, New York's not really my thing. Same thing with a guy like Chris Bryant. But you go there and you think this is the greatest place to play. Okay, now you're saying, wait, if I can get extended for 4 or 5 years, I'd rather spend the rest of my career here. So I believe in that, which is a risk. And again, I hope that baseball is like the worst kept secret of insider information. I hope they have somebody in the Story camp that they're talking to and saying how serious would Trevor be about the number that they want to negotiate. Yeah. I think it's easier to negotiate once the guy's wearing your uniform.
Yeah, and it could be LeMahieu because LeMahieu actually talked about him a lot
Correct.
the other day.
And at that point, it's not tampering.
And...
At that point, it's not tampering. It might be a little bit LeBronish, but hey,
that's right.
Hey, it is what it is. But no, maybe you know what? It's crazy because people in baseball usually don't make a big deal about it because it's such a big roster. But moves are made like that. Moves are made like that or not made like that. Where you call a guy and you say, hey, you know, do you really want to come here? Are you really hurt? What's the story with it? If he has a close relationship with him, he might be telling him, hey, man, this is what we need. You know, don't be reading the media. You know, Boone's fine. We're just struggling hitting. We need a guy like you. You're the guy that can get us out of this hole. And that's a convincing point because especially if a guy has like a no trade clause or a movement, he'll say, you know what, I'll waive it because I know that I'm going to go to a place where I got somebody that's telling me I'm wanted, I'm needed. And again, it's like recruiting. It's like, you know, and once he's there, a lot of places are good to recruit. New York can pull out all the stops, you know, other than like a tax paying situation. It's you have the flexibility of like the team, the, you know, the love of having him there. And then again, if you sign him now, wow, then now you have an option for Glaber. You know, does Glaber get moved to like another team? Does Glaber get played to third base? Does Gio Urshela take more of a role of a utility player? Or you tell Gio Urshela, hey man, go grab your glove and go play left field.
Here's my understanding of what the guy I'm talking to actually wrote to me about what it will look like is that they would early on move Glaber to second base. He would play short, but then there's also the potential if Voit comes back strong, they'll move him to center field. And
Correct.
That's Trevor Story to play center field.
Well, Glaber was never even a shortstop when he was in Venezuela.
Yeah, and even Brian Cashman said he's not a shortstop.
That's what I'm saying, though. He's always – so it's funny. He actually grew up playing baseball like one street above where we are from Venezuela, and he's always been a hitter. He's always been he's always ranked. But shortstop he was never a guy that you said, oh, you know, Anderson Simmons type of guy like that. The glove is what he does. He's a smasher. So I think that for him, at the end of the day, if he gets moved position-wise, it's not going to be that drastic of a change. I think that as long as he's in the lineup, I don't think it's a big deal for him of moving. And again, I think with Trevor, you have options. Obviously with LeMahieu, you have options. I mean, they can play multiple positions, which is a really good problem to have. And those guys are okay with it. There's guys that are not. But again, if DJ talked to him and they're like, how does Trevor feel about playing center? And he's like, I don't care. There's guys that really don't care. There's guys that are out there that are like, I don't care what position I play as long as I'm in the lineup. And then there's guys that are more prone to their positions. But again, you give that roster flexibility. Not only flexibility, you're putting pressure on everybody else. Because now Glaber's is like, oh man, I really got to put on my defense up because I need to crack this lineup. Same thing for Gio. And then for the guys that are coming back, you know, Andujar's only on the 10-day DL. It's like, man, when I come back, where do I fit in this roster? And, you know, you got September right around the corner. It's like you were running for a pennant race, but you're running for the pennant race thinking about, I hope I crack the first round of the playoff roster. So that competition incentivizes you to like make the team better. And I think that's what this team needs of again, playing inning by inning, bringing back that nitty gritty, you know, just don't stop till you get the W and just focus. Like you were the team that was supposed to win 100 games, but things happen and you take it inning by inning, literally gas out because they're in a position right now, which is very concerning. They can't miss the playoffs, man.
Right.
You get into the money they're spending.
Not with the money they're spending. You get into the playoffs and you get eliminated, you had a shot at the World Series. At least you made it to the playoffs. But if you get knocked out by not making the playoffs with how much money you spend, and for some crazy reason like the Blue Jays get in, now they're gonna be start flexing and saying, wait, we weren't even planning on getting in and we got in. You just made the division a lot crazier for like next couple of years, and you're in a weird situation. So they got to make those 3.5 games mean so much to them. They need to get into the playoffs. The playoff scenario should have 3 teams from the American League East at this point, because if not, there's going to be a team that's on there that's going to be very disappointing. Either a Cinderella season gets crushed or the Yankees have completely flopped. And unfortunately, I don't think if that happens, that we're going to see a massive sell in the offseason of people getting fired. Then that's very concerning.
No, you won't. And I think the biggest thing there is that That's when I said earlier on, like, oh, that I even blame Hal to an extent for what we're seeing this year. It's not so much that Hal hasn't spent enough money. I've actually been advocating for him on Twitter to other fans that, hey, this whole thing about, oh, he doesn't spend. He's spending. He's spending over $205 million on this team this year. Like, he spends money. What I blame him for is that level of trust that he puts into Cashman, because they came up together and kind of grew up in the business together. Like, I get it to an extent, but it's like, yeah, man, this guy's spending $205 million.
So Hal's mistake is he doesn't want to be his dad.
Yeah.
Hal wants to be liked. I don't think his baseball acumen is as strong as obviously his business acumen.
It's not.
And he's got somebody in Cashman who, number one, he's got the credibility. Like, the guy's got the rings, okay? Yep. So that second guessing, I don't think that he has it there of asking Cashman, well, why are we really doing this, okay? I don't think that conversation is had of, why are you going this analytical? Okay. Why are we making these moves? I think that he's just letting him go and do whatever he has to do without second guessing him. And I think that from an owner standpoint, regardless of how you know the game or don't know the game, I think those conversations are important of who in the front office is challenging Cashman, of like, why are we making this move? Like, really, like, why are we really making this move? Like, is this really working? Because when you're looking at success, and especially with Cashman, and that's got to be something for him personally, you know, he's had success before. So if I was him and I'm like, what am I doing different? Like, I had success, because this is the part that I laugh at. I want to win without Joe Torre, and I want to win without Derek Jeter, and I want to win without Mariano Rivera, and people be like, yo, man, Cashman was the man. He is the Yankees. Because at this point, I'm like, Cashman just had the right tools. I could have been the GM. You know, like, I had Derek Jeter, I had Mariano Rivera, like, you know, cruise it. I got the money. Like, how good was Cashman really? But for him, so it's such an important moment because he has been giving a lot of money. You know, everything's been put in his hand, of him really proving and saying, I am the best general manager of the last 30 years in baseball, because I was able to do it in two different generations with two different ball clubs. I'm taking that to Hall of Fame level. Like, if Cashman wins another one, you know, he's going in probably, but this will be like, he's got to go in first ballot. Like, as soon as he retires, he needs to go into the Hall of Fame. So that's where I think that his drive needs to be there. And I don't know if he's got anyone around him that's really pushing him, saying, hey, you know, like, we need to do this. And I don't know if that comes because he's too confident in his job. Because before Hal, every year we thought Cashman was going to get fired. Every year before Hal took over, every year Cashman's like, oh, Cashman's in the hot seat. Like, if they don't win this year, he's fired. Now you don't even hear that. So I think that relationship, he needs to start taking it more serious, because even if your guy's not going to fire you, you can make your guy look bad, and you need to go all in. And again, there needs to be a sense of urgency from the owner all the way down to the ushers. And at this point, I only think the fans are there, and everyone needs to get on that fan wave of like, hey, I remember a time when losing a game to the Red Sox was like, we lost a series to the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Like, the next 11 games.
It was a big deal.
You look at the schedule, and you never want to be the team that faces the Yankees after a Red Sox-Yankees series. Two factors. They're either coming in extremely hot because they just whooped on the Red Sox, so they're like super confident and cocky, or they just got rolled and they got yelled at and they're getting pressure, and whoever they play next is going to get a beating of their life. So you never want to be the team that plays them afterwards. That sentiment of that urgency, I don't see it there, and I want to see it there of like, we lost a series against the Red Sox. It's doomsday. We need to win the next 3 series, and by like margins that aren't even funny. That's where I think if you start doing that, 3.5 games, the Athletics will be out of it. It'll be Yankees will be in there, solidifying their step. And again, they might make a run and, you know, might scare a couple teams that are leading that division. They're making it way. Every time I see the Red Sox play against the Yankees, this team was supposed to lose 100 games. They're making it look too easy.
Right.
We've made it entirely too easy for the Red Sox this year. I don't mean to cut you off, Pete. I just wanted to get one point in.
Please, go ahead.
You said about we were talking about Cashman, and I think that's the focal point here. And that's what I thought about today. Like, as I looked at what transpired over the weekend and I looked at the deal that he came back with today, I'm like, okay, I'm not, feeling it. But then you hear things like, okay, the talks with Trevor Story are actually legit and they're intensifying. It's like, okay, if this happens, I'll tell you this. For once, I would give the credit where credit is due, that they finally made a move, that Cashman wasn't trying to be the smartest guy in the room. He just made one of those keep it simple, stupid moves. Like, you can't go wrong acquiring a guy like Trevor Story, right? And I think that's the issue that I've seen with the Yankees over the years, is that Cashman has converted into this GM who's constantly trying to be the smartest guy in the room. He's trying to be looked at as smart as the guys in Tampa, as smart as the guys in Houston, as smart as the guys in LA, and Dodger LA, not the other side, but as smart as AJ Preller. He wants to be spoken about and looked at as intelligent as these guys. And so he's going and trying to make these moves and go like dumpster diving or bargain basement hunting and get the guy that nobody was looking at and say, yeah, you see, like, because I knew that I could get the, instead of just going for the moves that like are no brainers in a sense. And so when I look at a deal like for Trevor Story, I'm like, hey, if you do this, it's like actually playing to your strengths, because you're not smarter than those guys in Tampa Bay. You're not smarter than those guys in Houston, but you don't have to be, because you have money on your side. And that's always been my point, that the New York Yankees have money on their side, where other teams have to get cute and deliberate because they can't spend here and they can't possibly deal this prospect because they can't go to the Dominican and just grab a guy he's going to want. The Yankees don't have to, because they have that money and they could go to the Dominican, they could go to Venezuela, they can go to freaking everywhere, to Curacao, and pick up these kids because these kids want to be there. You know what I mean? Like, but we're playing this game this past couple of years that, like, no, Cashman wants to outsmart people. And that's where I think is the biggest problem. And that's where I get upset with Hal, because you keep putting trust in this guy who's leaning too heavily on analytics that are clearly just not as good as everybody else's.
I have a philosophy, I guess you could call it like a conspiracy theory. I really feel like the Rays ownership sends Hal messages and says, yes, you beat us, but we're spending $200 less million than you. And that really gets under his skin. I really do. You know why though? Because I think Tampa has been doing this for a very, very long time, because it's a means to survival, okay, for them. And they got really good at it. I always say this: when was the last time you saw an Asian player sign in Tampa? Because they're never in the conversation.
Right.
Boston, New York, because they're never in the tryouts. They don't even go. That's the reality of it. They don't even show up. New York is New York. I don't care what anybody says. The Yankees are there. The second part of that is when they try to say the Dodgers are the smartest team out there. There's a rumor right now going on that they're trying to make a trade for Matt Scherzer. Okay. Mm-hmm. The former Tampa Bay general manager went from being the smartest guy in the room to going and spending money. Because when you sign Mookie Betts and you sign Trevor Bauer and you're making a move for Matt Scherzer, you're not smart. It's basically like in baseball, fantasy baseball, and you're just taking all the top picks that are coming up, and you can afford it. It's like, I got it. So people that are pretending that he's like, oh, he's doing all these crazy things with numbers. No, he's got a really good, solid team. So that's the part where I think the Yankees, they shouldn't be playing that game, and they should be playing and focusing on, let's put the best team on the field, and let's see what happens on the field. And then you want to do the analytics for player development in the minor leagues and get a couple diamonds in the rough, for all means, do it. But leave the big league team alone and play baseball. Let these guys go out there and play. Let Aaron Boone manage.
That's right.
There's a part, if Aaron Boone really becomes a really good manager, okay, it's you're a better manager. You're supposed to be the better manager the second, third, fourth year. You might have a guy here with the Yankees that might be the next younger version of Joe Torre, like that. You're letting him grow. But if you're holding his hand the whole time, you're really not letting him become that manager and have that reputation of, I'm like, I am the Yankees manager. That's something that I think that I thought they were trying to get with Aaron, and saying he's our guy. He's going to be our guy in the conversations. We're going to have less pushback, but they're going to let him do his thing. And you haven't been able to do that. So I think that I look across the Bay in San Francisco, and I got two friends that are coaches there that I've known them since college. Okay. Real big baseball guys. They like analytics, like all the young guys do, but they're playing a form of baseball that now the media is catching up to it and saying, oh, but this is not a real analytics baseball. It's like, no, they're bunting against the shift. Okay, they're making right moves, and the other team's like, oh my God, we're blown away because they're doing baseball moves. Okay, because they're like, we need to play to our roster because we have a bunch of veteran guys and we need to compete. So all these
play to their strengths.
Their strengths, correct.
That's right.
So play to your strengths. So if the Yankees have a slogan, play like it matters, and play to your strengths. If you want to do all that analytical stuff, 100% of it in the minor leagues, for all means, do that. But in the big league, you need to really see and develop what you have, because if Aaron Boone is let to manage and he's not the guy, and he's making like crazy moves that you're like, oh my God, he's a really bad manager, then you say, hey, okay, he's not the guy, and you look for somebody else. But you need to let him be that guy. You need to let him, go out and fail that way, and let his players really gravitate to him, and not have him, be in this like, is it his team? Is it Cashman's team? Is it Hal's team? Who's making the moves? Is there a guy sitting behind the Yankees dugout that comes out and whispers into his ears for the next move? and how you make that all go away is by playing good baseball and winning and not losing 4-run leads while a guy has a no-hitter versus the Red Sox. Period.
Yeah. So the last two things real quick before we go ahead and stop this one for today. The last update I have on Story is basically getting the Rockies to agree to a certain amount of prospects and what that's going to look like. That's going to be the yes or the no here is who's offered. Is it enough? And are the Rockies set on trading him? I think they don't have a choice. I think they're trading Story no matter what. They don't really have a choice in that area. And if it's going to also add a guy like a I was going to say Sonny Gray, my God, like John Gray to that deal. So we'll see where we are there. But Joe, we haven't heard from you in a second about the whole Story thing and where he would play. What are your initial thoughts on if the Yankees do get that deal done?
Depending on if they keep both Voit and Glaber, what I would prefer is just moving Glaber back to second, putting DJ at first, and then putting Story at short.
Right. I think that's what we all probably think is the best.
I think our best bet is that, and then you move Voit.
Yeah, you could also do that. And the last thing I have, I know, France, I know you got to run, so we'll wrap this up here shortly. I wanted to ask Ozzie one question. Does your father manage in baseball again?
No.
Does he not want to?
Why? Oh, he would love to manage he might manage for free.
Nobody can deal with him. He's too real. No. Come on, he's too real for everyone.
You know why? When you get rid of a guy like George Girardi because he was too tough on players, I think the game has changed in that aspect. I think if the game comes around, I think that he might get another shot. I just think that, Ozzie has one thing that Ozzie has as I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Ozzie can't grow up with nothing. Right? And he does not bullshit. He cannot sit in a meeting. I don't think he's capable of doing it, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. Okay. I love that. I love it.
I think that there's that. And I have to do this. I think that sometimes when you're in a certain moment in your life, you have to sit there and listen to some BS. Okay? And you have to take it and be like, you know what? I'm an employee. I got to listen to this BS. It is what it is. Ozzie, for some reason, and it's not money, I just think that that's how he was built and which has made him great, and it's also worked against him, is that he doesn't buy BS. He calls people out on their BS. The reason he gets fired in Miami, obviously, the Fidel comment's the big favorite one, but from day one, him and the Marlins had issues on every single move that they made. Literally, him, Larry Beinfest, and half of the team wanted him there, meaning front office, the other half didn't. So he called them out a lot. His problems with the White Sox front office was he was calling them out saying, why are we making this move? The one time, I'll give you a funny story. They said Jim Thome should be the leadoff for the White Sox. And he said, really? Jim Thome? Okay, because he's a guy that gets on mostly on base.
Right.
Who's going to drive Jim Thome in?
That's right.
So he's a guy that, he won't put on the board. If Cashman came to him as a general manager and said, this is what the lineup of the computer said, is okay, explain to me why. If something doesn't make sense to him, and he's going to give his rationale. Now in baseball, you can't do that. It's very hard to go against what your team's saying, and that, I think, for him is very hard. And again, it makes him very very, very good and potentially very awesome at being a manager or in that type of role, because you're going to call out and say, no, this is what your mistake is. This is what you really need to do. A lot of people now in baseball are trying to just save their jobs, and they say, oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, that looks amazing. There's Cashman's probably got so many yes men right now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's what it is.
You know what I mean? Yes. Oh, that's such a great move. So that, I think that in the game of baseball, everyone's so scared, man, because there's so many guys out there that have so much potential that don't have a job. Literally, coaches, front office people that you're like, man, they fired so-and-so. Tony Pena? I'm shocked Tony Pena's not around. I better STU, literally, I better, just, if I want to keep my job, I need to just be able to, tread lightly and do what I got to do. And then you get to the player part, it's very easy when you have a guy that's nobody really cares about and you call him out, okay? Because everybody's going to be like, yeah, he's a whatever player. We don't care. But if you have a guy, you will never have a Jim Leland, Barry Bonds moment ever again in baseball.
Right.
Where Jim Leland just went after Barry and said, I'm the boss. What are you doing? those moments, Billy versus Reggie, because the next day Reggie would say, I won't play unless Billy's not here. And they'll fire him. They'll fire Billy. Back in the day, the ownership said, hey, Reggie, good for you. He's the manager. That world has changed. So I think that he would have fun managing again, and he'd be really good at it still. But I think it's very hard. I think that's why Boston and Alex are very dangerous, because Boston loves Alex. The front office does. They listen to him. He does drive that front office, and he has that backup. I think that you have to go to a place. Ozzie needs to go to a place like that. I don't think Ozzie could sit there and be like, Ozzie would be like, yeah, they made my lineup today. That's why we lost. Like, he would be that guy.
I can see that. Yeah. I can see that, but I would love that. I would love to see that. I would love to see that.
You know what? This lineup, I thought it was going to be different. I got to keep my job to make these guys happy. And it would be funny, but it just rubs people the wrong way. So I think that's why that's very dangerous in a time now where everyone wants to be correct. Everyone wants everything to be very corporate. Everyone wants to have the right moves when it comes to that game of base. The game has changed in that aspect. And again, I think it's a disservice because, the coaches are there not to be your friends. They're there to coach you. And some guys get to become amazing right off the bat. But there's a lot of young talent that comes up that struggles. And they struggle because they're not listen. They don't listen. And sometimes they don't listen because they wouldn't even get the help because they're scared to get the people that give the help are scared to give them the help. I'll give you an example. My opinion, one of the best hitting coaches in baseball is out of baseball right now, Chili Davis, because Chili rubbed people the wrong way. Look at where he's gone. Guys have hit, but if one or two guys in the team don't like you, this is the other thing. Now you got to find a coach that all 25 guys like.
Yep.
Oh, we don't like Francis. One guy doesn't like Francis. If one guy doesn't like Francis gonna get fired.
Job.
You're not gonna have a job.
Well, the Yankees even said that, didn't they? Cashman even said that about Boone. That everybody in the clubhouse likes him, and I'm sitting there saying
he's a very likable.
Who cares?
Aaron is he's a great baseball mind. Comes from a great baseball family.
Yeah,
he is. But here's the part though, Aaron is a likable guy. Okay, he's a guy that if he gets to a party, guys are gonna like him. He's a natural leader. He knows how to talk to guys. He can talk on that. So from a likability, likability standpoint, they will love him. And as long as he doesn't call anybody out and rub them the wrong way, he'll be able to cruise through this. Way different than Joe Girardi. Joe Girardi is one of the nicest people out there. But you see Joe Girardi, he looks like he wants to kick your butt half the time. Joe Girardi's being nice to you, and he looks like he wants to beat you up. He just has that demeanor.
That's that Italian. That's that Italian in him.
Yeah, I'm just going to rip your head off. Like I used to, and I've known Joe for a long time. I still see him. I'm like, I don't know if he's happy, if he's mad. He's just that guy. But,
sounds like my dad.
Yeah, but he's just that guy. So there's a lot of players that, they see him and they're like, oh, he doesn't like me. It's the thing happened with Tony La Russa. Oh, Tony doesn't even know you. Dude, like he's so caught up in his world of like Girardi. If Girardi's not, when Girardi was on Gary Sanchez and people, I always said this: if your manager is not on you, that's a bad thing. I mean, he don't care about you.
Right.
That means he wants you out of here so quickly, and he has that power. But if he's on you and if he's constantly on there and he's constantly nagging, it's because he wants you to be better because your success is his success. And that's why I think that he saw something in this core team that made him even extra hard. Okay, because I think that he saw the guys were going through the motions, and again, my Ozzie used to take vacations with Stanton. Okay, and Ozzie changed Stanton's whole mentality, like try to make him like a warrior, like you play through pain, like you need to be out there 162 games, and he did really good when he was with the White Sox, with the Marlins. He destroyed that year, but there was other players, not to mention names, that were like trying to get coaches fired because they had to do early work. And but they all had great years. So that demeanor of like getting into the players and not being scared that Stanton is not gonna like you, but being like, man, I'm gonna push you for you to be the best you. That's what I think is missing. And it's not because the coaches that are there can't do it. I think they're just scared because their jobs are on the line.
Right.
Hey, I just want to piggyback the thing he said just now about Stanton and Ozzie, like. That's the biggest thing missing on the field level, right? Kick the front office out of all the Yankees problems, like they don't exist for a second, and just look at the problem with the on the field product. It's that, right? That you can't talk to a guy and tell them, hey, listen, I know this is bothering you today. You're a little sore. I know we've been playing a lot of back-to-backs. You haven't been off your feet in a while, but you know what? We really need this game. We need you out there. You're a freaking warrior. You're built like an Adonis. Go out there. Give me 3 good at-bats tonight. And if we're up, I'll sit you down. I'll take you out after 3 at-bats. Like, we don't have that. Boone can't do that because Boone knows that that's not what he was brought in to do. And the guys who do that are pushed out of the game. But that's my whole thing. Like, the Yankees need a guy like that. Because I think if we had a guy like Ozzie Guillen, this is what we said on episode 2 of our podcast, was that if we had a guy like Ozzie Guillen, I don't think we see Gleyber Torres struggle for as long as we do. I don't think we see Brett Gardner batting in the 3-hole.
Or getting away with walking down the line. That would never happen under Ozzie. Ozzie would never let a guy do that.
Because he wouldn't allow it. He'd be like, what are you doing? Like, you run that out. Especially with, you see our record right now? You see our record? Why are you walking down the line like we're 25 games above 500 and running away with the division? Dude, we're in 4th place. We're like 10 games out of first place here. We're fighting 3.5 back from a wild card, and you jogging down the first base. Like,
you're losing. So the game,
yeah.
You guys are no. I'm saying you're losing. You brought something up real good. So the Yankees were not good in the '80s. They kind of went through this moment of so much Yankee, glory, and then those years in the '90s, they built this reputation. This is something people make a mistake, man. They had good players, but they had guys that played the game hard and right. Okay, they ran down you never had that drama, and it was because the guys that were there as leaders, meaning they never let it happen. Now you're losing that, meaning you see Yankees guys not running the bases. That's something that would not be a Yankee way. People critique, the Yankees don't wear, can't wear a beard. You got to do this. It's like, yeah, but also with those unwritten rules is you play hard, okay? You do what you got to do, and so those are things that are now that I feel like they want this analytical thing is overclouding on things that they used to do naturally. Very, very good. And when you're playing, man, when you're managing in New York, the easiest conversation is look at these 27 rings. Like, this is what we play for. Like, you guys are playing for the New York Yankees. We're not playing for the Mets. We're not playing for, the Texas Rangers. No, you can literally have those conversations because it's hard when you're coming in. You're like, hey, guys, we're the Tampa Rays. We never won a championship, but hey, this is what we do here. Like, it's building that culture, and you can't let that culture escape. Because then, you start becoming the Pirates and it becomes one generation, 2 kids in the Pirates don't even know that they were great at one point. They're like, wait, what? We were good. You can't let that tradition go away. And that's where they need to rebuild and say, this is where our core comes from. The Yankee way. I feel like the Yankee way, people are embarrassed of it. Like, oh no, we won 27 rings. The other day somebody said, well, they won with a bunch of guys using steroids on the field. And I said, yeah. And the team that they beat had the same amount of guys on the juice too. That's right. It was a part of the game. That's right. They just beat the most juice team. They were using the cameras too. It doesn't matter. They're all playing the same game. That Yankee attitude, I feel like the front office, I feel like the players, that gravitas of them going into a field and being like, we're the New York Yankees. We travel with fucking 7 buses. We have the best team in baseball. You need 7 different passes to get into our stadium. We're the New York Yankees. We got 7 uniforms. We're we are the show in town. When the Yankees show up, they got 300 media people. It's like, damn, the Yankees are here. It's a whole nother level. They're so scared of that now. They tell you, yeah, we spend money. They're so shy of it now. Oh, we don't want to be that team. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing or if it's a thing about the times that we're living in, but that cockiness of oh, we have the best, we're going to do what we're going to do. If you're going to catch us, you're going to catch us. Yeah. So that attitude has gone away. And I feel like for them to, not only just this season, because I feel like this is all something that might affect in the next 10 years. Because you don't want to be, again, I keep bringing the Pirates. You don't want to be the Pirates. You don't want to be the Orioles. Right. 10 years of just doing nothing. And that's very easy. You make a couple bad signings, Anaheim, you're 10 years. You don't want to go back to pre-1990, Don Mattingly days where Ozzie had a no trade clause to New York. Because it was such a disaster. No trade clause. I don't want to go to New York. But so you've gone away from that. And I feel like it's not just about this season and making the playoffs this season. It's about what are we going to do the next 10 years? I'm not saying to win 6 championships, but where are we going to be there? Are we going to win divisions? Are we going to be competing? That's where they need to focus on. And I think the fan base, even though I think it's younger, they get that. I don't know why the front office doesn't.
Yeah, definitely. Joe, Francis, you guys have anything to add?
What Ozzie just said with the younger fan base, I guess I'd be a part of the younger fan base. And for me, I don't understand. I obviously understand the history of the Yankees. watch documentaries on Jeter, George, and then I look at the team we have now, the front office, what they're doing, and I'm like, this is not what I learned. This isn't the Yankee way. And me being in the younger generation, I see that and I don't like it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what we're all frustrated about. And I'll end on this note. I would just say this. I think most fans agree with me. I think the game is better with guys like Ozzie. And I think the game's better with guys like that. And we've seen what negative press a guy like even Tony La Russa got. And look what he's doing with that club. I mean, I heard your father talking about the Yerminator the other day. And he's right. He's spot on. He's right.
Well, by the way, our show, Being Guillen, has 20,000 downloads as of today.
Yes, check Being Guillen out. Check that show out.
No, but it's just funny, though, because we've talked so much great baseball. And because he had a rant, because...
The comments, yep, of course.
Not only the comments that he made. So this is a guy that Ozzie has been following every single day. That's his job, okay? When he got there, the kid got hot. That's fine. He was always very cocky. He said a lot of things in the Hispanic media toward people that were critiquing that he was there. He has a history of quitting before, okay? He gets sent down, and he makes comments publicly and privately, text messaging players, people in the front office. I deserve to be in the big leagues. So there's a lot of things that are happening amongst that self. And then Ozzie talked about it, and then there was social media reply, and then Ozzie said, "You know what? I'm going to tell you." And it's funny because he's called him Cheeseburger Boy the whole time. And this is a part. No, this is a part. No, but this is a part where Ozzie, number one, I think Ozzie just he felt like he needed to defend Tony because nobody is defending him. Like, you're gonna blame Tony La Russa. He gave you 200 at bats after the fact. The fact that you swung 3-0 was a fact because you were hitting 150 for the last month before that, and you were like, "This is my easiest chance to hit a home run."
Wasn't he batting him fifth too, like throughout the whole year?
Yeah, throughout the whole year. So people talking about opportunities, but here's the thing: no one talks about that. He never did early work to make his defense better. So this guy, he never made it to the big leagues, even though he killed AAA. Go look at Baseball Reference. This guy's hit like 350 every year in AAA. Never made it to the big leagues. Why? Well, he can't play defense. Okay? Never worked on his defense when he was in the big leagues. Gain weight. You're not Cecil Fielder, bro. Only unless you smash, you're fat. If you smash and you're fat, they're like, "Oh, he's plumply." Pablo Sandoval right now, he's so cool. He's a panda. When he starts hitting 150, they're gonna say, "Oh, he's a fat ass." That's just baseball.
Right. That's right. You're right. You're right.
That's just the game of baseball, okay?
Right.
Just like when you party. When you do good, you're David Wells. "Oh, look at this party animal." When you're doing bad, "Oh, look at this alcoholic. He needs to get help." That's just the game. No one wants. That's just the nature of the beast. So he was like, "Hey, you're gonna call out, and you think that and now you're gonna say." So Wes Helms, who's a well-respected manager in the minor leagues, I think future big league manager, great baseball guy, decides to pinch hit for this guy. Mind you, the first day he put him to catch, he had 7 pass balls. Okay, and he doesn't want to work at catching. That's his main position. So he pinch hits for him in the 6th inning. Again, minor leagues are to develop. The Sox are in a pennant race. They're probably trying to figure out, we don't have Grandal. We got to see what we have on our team. He quit. He got pinch hit for between get him pinch hitting and the game ending. He retired on social media and he quit.
Yep.
Later to just come over the next under 24 hours after he blamed saying the front office didn't treat me right, I shouldn't be in AAA. He unretired. What do you think Ozzie was going to say? This guy wore the uniform for 20 years, managed the only World Series they've won in 100 years. He's in the media now as a broadcaster, and the guy that's managing the team is his first manager in the big leagues, and you're going to blame him? He just went off. It just all happened in emotions. And again, was he cruel? I told people, I tweeted about it today. I said, now I can blame my father for not being in the big leagues. Had he held my hand and told me that I was great every single day, I might be the next Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Tatis Jr.
Yeah.
But my dad wasn't that guy. My dad's like, "You're doing bad. You suck right now. Get it together." But that's who he is. And people have such a hard time of the reality of him just being honest. And I guess they got to make rules, because when you get fired, man, it's like, "Oh, it's not you, it's us." Like, no, you're firing me. There's something that I did wrong. So give me constructive criticism. And for this guy, it's like, dude, like, you're 28, like slow down, like showed up to the game late 3 times. In the White Sox, showed up late. That's not late. Like, guys had to go in and play for him that were told they had the day off before. So all these issues, and people are saying, "Oh, well, Ozzie did bad." I'm like, really? Because I don't see anybody on his team saying Ozzie's wrong. Jermaine was a great guy when he was here. You know, I don't see any of those guys. I don't see any of those guys talking about it. So that's where the game guys like Ozzie are so honest, because they don't sugarcoat what's happening. Like of like, this is why we're struggling. Like Ozzie would have said after that game with the Red Sox, saying, we suck right now. We can't figure out a way to beat the Red Sox. We need to get it together. We're too lackadaisical. We think we're good, but we're not. They're better than us. They're in first place. We think we're awesome, but you know, we just think we're going to win games automatically. And there's going to be people who are going to be like, oh my God, why would Ozzie say that? Mm-hmm. He'll say that. He'll say Giancarlo's struggling, can't hit. He'll say, but so he'll call guys out. But before he says it on the media, people think he's calling them out on the media for the first time. No, he's been doing that for 2 weeks already.
Right.
You know, Ozzie was telling guys like, dude, from having a relationship with their wives to going out, Ozzie would say, hey, I'm not in your life. You need to slow down going out. You're like 0 for 16. Sleep a little bit on the road. We've all been there.
Right.
But that's his job. Like he's like your dad. Like your parents are supposed to be. We feel like we live in a world society now where coaches and parents need to be your friend and not like your bosses of like telling you like,
that's the problem.
You do whatever you want. Like my parents had let me do whatever I want. I might be in jail by now. Like I was things I wanted to do at years old. So that mentality of guys like Ozzie, people see him as like this Neanderthal boomer that he's like nuts, but he's like at the end, like when you're like, okay, don't listen to the messenger. Take away the messenger and put somebody with a really nice voice, okay, in perfect English, and have the message after all the issues that you've seen with this guy. And then he says it to him. Because then we're seeing a 30 for 30 on a tragedy of a guy that could have been, but he had all these issues off the field and he was such a problem, you know, and then you're like, oh, that's so sad. Nobody helped him though. You know, oh, nobody told him what was wrong with him. It's like, well, really? Maybe somebody did and he didn't listen. So that's the part where Ozzie doesn't care about that. He's like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say because, and I'll say it to his face. I'll say it on the media. And today's world has that problem of, oh, well, I can't say that. And I think
allowed to, or
I'm saying, I think for a coach, man, when you're a coach, you're in a really hard position because you need to be tough, man. You need to be like on top of those guys, like, because their success is your success, but you're supposed to be there to make sure that they're not making mistakes and kind of guide them on where they're at. Like, it's kind of cruel, but like if you got a couple pounds on you, like, hey man, kind of getting fat, getting slow, you know, you're struggling. You haven't slept in 3 days.
I agree 150%. Well, Ozzie, man, it has been absolutely awesome having you on. We greatly appreciate it. You're still going to be on Designated Spitters, right? You're still going to be on the other podcast. Awesome. Great. So next week.
I am. No, great. Whenever you guys want. Again, I love the passion. I feel so Yankee fans are very knowledgeable to everyone's, you know, everyone always doesn't give them credit because obviously they're all jealous of the 27 rings. You know, the 1990s, if you were born in the last 30 years, you saw a lot of Yankees winning. But the Twitter world of the Yankee baseball is usually a very good world. They know their stuff that they're talking about. They bring in, again, man, it's New York. You know, it's 100%. New York. The only reason the Mets are relevant is because they're in New York.
Yep, that's right.
If they were in Orlando, no one would
never hear about them. You wouldn't know anything about them at all.
Exactly. That's the lure. People are like, oh, New York, I'm like, dude, New York is New York. It is what it is.
No doubt about it. So guys, you guys remember, you see everybody go follow Ozzie Jr. Got his @ on there so you can see where to follow him. Of course, Francis is killing it right now with the follows. So thanks Sheffield Jr. for shouting him out. Joe is doing well. We got to get Joe up there also. So with that being said, guys, remember, follow me, or if you're already following me on Twitter, look out for any more updates on Trevor Story. With that being said, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.